Hello and welcome to the 20th episode of the
Greater Meaning Podcast.
We got to do that. I can't.
No, we can't do it again.
No,
Josh will not edit this, so just might as well keep going. As always, that's Andrew. I'm Nathan, and there's Josh.
We were just talking about how we're not going to mess up this time. This is the 20th episode of the Greater Meaning Podcast, the podcast where we take you through the stories of the Bible from beginning to end. We talk about things we find interesting. We explore the lesser known parts of very popular Bible stories, and we also reveal our greater meaning as we journey through the story of the Bible and show God's plan of salvation for humanity through Jesus Christ.
In this episode, we will not only complete the journey of Joseph and Jacob, but also our journey through the book of Genesis.
Boom!
Guys, I forgot to mention,
we are
I am
officially
Josh.
finishing the first book of the Bible. So many incredible moments and stories were covered, so we want to finish with a bang and cover some of our favorite moments. But first, let us return to Jacob and Joseph, as they have some final important words.
Why?
You read that so much better than me. Whatever you do the
You're
intro.
not supposed to read it. It's just like an introduction I write to remind myself. But yeah, like he said, we did not plan it this way. It just happened to fall this way. This big 20th episode extravaganza is going to be also the final episode of the book of Genesis that will mark technically the second book of the Bible that we've completed. Remember, we squeezed in the book of Job in there. That's probably one of our most widely, positively reviewed episodes. At least that's the one I heard from the most people that they liked.
Job?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not our most...
Because everybody likes Job. He was a very likable guy.
Job's a cool guy. And we're going to talk about many other cool guys that we liked. But we aren't officially done yet. We do have a little bit... Actually, we have quite a bit of story to get through. And when I mean quite a bit, I mean, narratively, there's not a lot. But there's a lot to talk about.
Like I said, we should have just squeezed it into the last episode. We should have just put it in there, just nicely. Squeeze it in.
It's so important. There's so much significance in this episode.
I had a really good childhood friend named Joe. All right.
Nathan, you know we're...
I'm sorry.
That is so irrelevant.
Nathan.
I had a friend named Obadiah.
I haven't thought of him for a very long time. That's the only reason I brought him up.
Nathan, you are the salt of this of our podcast. Without you, there'd be no seasoning.
Oh, that's not true.
Well, this episode, we're covering the last 3 chapters of the book of Genesis. We're finishing up with both Jacob's story and Joseph's story because their endings kind of are connected. They're together in Egypt. Jacob has come with his whole family by the beckoning of Pharaoh and Joseph out of the land of Canaan into Egypt after the famines. And we're just going to have to see what happens next. I mean, chapter 48 is very interesting. Nathan, if you want to start us off with the first 7 verses of Genesis chapter 48.
Now it came to pass after these things that Joseph was told, "Indeed, your father is sick." And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Jacob was told, "Look, your son Joseph is coming to you." And Israel strengthened himself and sat up in bed. Then Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me, and said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make of you a multitude of people, and give this land to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. And now your 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Egypt, before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. As Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. Your offspring, whom you beget after them, shall be yours. They will be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. But as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was but a little distance to go in Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem."
So interesting thing happens here. Jacob in the land of Egypt with the rest of his family. gets to the point, kind of remember like Isaac was. He's getting up in years. He's officially so old, so sickly. He's not walking around anymore. He's bedridden. And it comes time for all the patriarchs in their life when they're nearing this point to gather together their children and the sons and everybody and either divide up their inheritance and dish out or pass along the blessing of God. But obviously, Ephraim and Manasseh is not the direct children of Jacob. They're his grandsons, but he takes them and adopts them as their own. As his own, I should say. Very interesting move. Why do you think he does this?
You're saying that Jacob adopts them as his own?
He adopts them and he takes them and he actually gives them a blessing here in the next a couple verses in the chapter. He blesses them and he adopts them. He gives them the role of his direct children. Like he fills them not as grandchildren, but he includes them and actually
they're not like 100% of the bloodline, right? Joseph was married into another group of people and he had children with a whole different type of people. So
from Egypt.
Yeah. I mean, Jacob has to kind of make it clear, not only just to Joseph, but in front of everybody. I heard that, but in front of everybody, he has to make it clear. I heard something. It was either a loud bass or a very deep grumble of the stomach.
That sounded like a rumble through the system, but it's just weird.
Maybe it was a very heavy vehicle or truck that drove by.
Yeah,
either way, sorry that we had to hear.
Nathan, is that you? Stop doing that with your voice. You're tripping me up, dude.
What'd I do?
Oh my god!
Because now he can hear himself probably. So
I can't hear anything. What were you saying?
Either way, back
Joshua?
to it.
By the way, it's really hard. We're talking about Joseph, but your name is Josh, and it's very hard not to call you Joseph or Jacob.
It's not hard. My name's Josh. That name's Joseph. It's two completely different things. I'm not going to say, I mean, obviously your name's Nathan. I'm not going to call around and call you Neosporin, okay?
Neosporin. Okay.
I wish you would.
From now on, we're joined with my two co-hosts, Josh and Neosporin Nathan.
I wish you would call me Neosporin. That's a cool name.
It does sound pretty dope.
I'm going to buy some after this episode's finished recording.
Look out for that merch. We have our first sponsor, Neosporin.
All right, I'm sorry.
Okay. Either way, look back to it. Joseph has children with a whole different group of people. Jacob has to address in front of everybody that he's accepting them as their own. So now he can pass the blessings to his children as kind of like the culture goes, right? So he has to adopt them publicly. So this is kind of what's going on.
Well, he's also, we're going to see in the next chapter kind of the way he redresses his direct sons. He's actually going to have a word. But here he takes, you look at it from his point of view. And it says here in this chapter, he didn't even think that he would ever see Joseph again. But God has caused him to see not only Joseph, but Joseph's offspring. And he takes them, he said, they're mine. Any other kids you have from here on out, you can name your direct descendants after them. But these I'm going to incorporate into the tribes of Israel. And it's really important. And he gives them a blessing. Nathan, if you actually read from verses 12 through 16, he blesses them in a very interesting way.
So Joseph brought them from beside his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh with his left toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. Then Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, guiding his hands knowingly. For Manasseh was the firstborn, and he blessed Joseph and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has fed me all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads. Let my name be named upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth.
Now
Now
Joseph actually, sees that Jacob does something here that we've started to see throughout it's kind of a repeating trend. Jacob switches his hands, and instead of giving the firstborn, like he takes his right hand off the firstborn and actually crosses his hands over and blesses the sons by anointing the younger one greater than the older one, which is Joseph actually gets upset. He's like, displeases him. He tells his daughter, he thinks his dad is kind of senile and says, hey, you're messing up. And Jacob literally straight up says, I know he shall also become a people and he shall also be great, but truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his descendants shall become a multitude of nations. And so it's just an interesting interaction we see here.
When Jacob is blessing Joseph and he's saying, God, who my fathers, Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has fed me all of my life to this day. And then he switches it up and says, the angel who has redeemed me. Now, when he is speaking that, is he talking about God or is he talking about an angel?
What do you mean? Oh, you're talking about his blessing, God? He's just blessing him. He's kind of speaking. I mean, the angel.
Yes, but now we're going back.
Evil. He's referring to the individual, I believe, there that he met when he wrestled with him under the tree.
Yeah, that's a key kind of like phrase over here to go along with that.
Why?
Because why wouldn't he have just said God again? Like the God who has fed me all of my life to this day, the God who has redeemed me from all evil. Why does he switch it up and now say angel?
Because he recognizes that God has represented himself to him in different forms as well.
So if he represents himself physically, now he's an angel?
Well, remember that we talked about this, that oftentimes in the Old Testament, when it refers to the angel of the Lord, it's also just the representation of God here present. When also the voice of the Lord, or the word of the Lord came to them, it doesn't say that he necessarily saw a figure, but it would have been a voice, or maybe he heard a voice. God represented himself to the patriarchs in different forms. I didn't really look too deep into that. It's interesting that you pull that up because you're right.
I went even into Romanian because Romanian, the language is closer to this translation than the English version. And even in the Romanian language, it says angel as well. It's kind of... that's very... We'll talk about it later because we'll be hitting on other things as well. So maybe we'll bring this back.
No, I mean, that's an interesting point.
I noticed it while I was reading. He says angel.
Yeah, the angel who redeemed me from
slip
all
up?
evil. Again,
it didn't slip up.
I don't think it was a slip up. I mean, again, the one that was redeeming again is again when you're looking at the Bible or the language or the terminologies in the Old Testament, I attribute it to Jesus, but we can talk about it here in a little bit, but it's an interesting thing. In the rest of the chapter, it's just that he blesses the two sons of Joseph and says, by you, Israel will be blessed, saying, may God make you Ephraim and Manasseh. And thus he set Ephraim before Manasseh. I always feel like I said it differently. Nathan started saying Manasseh, and now I feel like I can't remember the way I used to say his name before this episode.
How's it supposed to be said?
I don't remember anymore.
Is it Manasseh?
I feel like it was different.
I think I butcher a lot of
Manasseh. I'm not going to say it different now. I think I'm just overthinking it.
Ephraim and Manasseh.
Huh.
Then Israel said to Joseph, behold, I am dying, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow.
Bow. Yeah, he just gives Jacob or Joseph
bow. I said bow.
Why? I'm still so stuck in like the previous. What's with God?
What?
Why is it always choosing the younger? Just like even with Joseph, like Joseph tells his dad, like, no, Dad, this one's the actual,
Isaac.
this one's the, Joseph.
Ever since there was
Jacob.
children, the younger one has always been better. Abel has been better.
Even Jacob is like,
Nathan's better than Michelle.
even Jacob is just kind of like, no, Joseph, I'm not wrong. the younger will be greater than the older. It's like, why is it? Because I mean, I'm the oldest, so like I kind of want to feel, like I'm gonna have a destiny to fulfill, not always have to live
You will
through the younger.
He didn't say he would not have. He said, indeed, he will also be a great nation, and so was Esau was a great nation, and
but
Cain
his younger
set
will
up
be
cities.
greiter.
I should probably not use Cain as an example.
I mean, yeah, dude, it's the youngers are always better. Think about it.
Oh,
I'm the oldest boy out of like 4 boys, so I'm feeling Josh here. Like in terms of birthrights, I would have been the one.
You would be the
oldest. Gotten
oldest.
it, yeah, and I would have also been the one that was passed up if I was in this family. Here comes Tibby.
Here comes Timmy.
Maybe. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's Jacob just knew, man. He saw both the kids. He's like, whoa, that one's special. This other one's cool, but
This one's eating bugs.
this one's got a future.
Oh man.
Oh,
So
that's wild.
that's how we end. Yeah, that's how we
Sorry.
end the. What's up, Josh?
Oh, I just had a news alert. Basically, somewhere in Germany, this is not a funny situation, but somewhere in Germany, a Ferris wheel caught on fire while people were on the Ferris wheel.
Wow.
That's weird.
That's one terrible, and prayers for all that situation going on. Hopefully nobody's hurt or severely injured.
No, yeah, 23 people are badly injured.
Well, yeah, because you're on a Ferris wheel.
So out of left
It's kind
field.
of nowhere to go. I was on a Ferris wheel once, stuck on it. It was gnarly.
Probably
Yeah, but being
uncomfortable.
stuck on a Ferris wheel, like you can eventually, that eventually you'll be able to get down. But when you're stuck on a Ferris wheel and it's on fire,
Yeah. That adds a little bit to the experience, I would say. What do you
you
start
jump?
climbing down, or you just start? Man, I don't know. That's a completely different conversation.
So now we're in Genesis 49.
So, thank you, Josh, for that. Now I'm sad.
Look,
we're laughing, we're sad.
Genesis chapter 49 covers Jacob. Now, after he spoke to the grandkids, he pulled Joseph next to him. Jacob calls his sons and gathers them together so that he may tell you. He says, that I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days. And in this chapter, he covers a blessing or a word, if you will, his final words to each one of his sons. And as I was preparing for this episode and as I was talking with Josh, we had a pretty interesting conversation and a question about like the difference between, prophetically speaking or speaking something into existence. It is my belief here, and based on the context of the word that I read it, that
I thought we were going to bring this
Jacob-
up after.
Oh no, it's before because we got to go into it, right?
Okay.
It's introducing it to the whole speak.
we planned this subject matter.
Well, we talked about it and we recognize that it's a really good question that we should address. And I want to talk about it a little bit. And I believe, based on the context and based on how I've seen God work up until now in the book of Genesis, that when he has the patriarch that he chose, that he's passing along this blessing, in these final moments, I believe it's a prophetic word coming from God. We see and remember Isaac when he was blessing, Esau and Jacob before this, that Isaac was deceived by Jacob, but we again confirmed that Isaac didn't have the power to bless. The blessing didn't come from Isaac. And then Jacob didn't trick God. We know that God had already foretold that the younger will serve the older. And Jacob actually came out the womb grasping the heel. So the blessing that comes from Jacob to his 12 sons, and the word, because not all of them are blessings, we're going to read this too, they're prophetic utterances revealed to Jacob by God, and it actually speaks to the destiny and the future of the 12 children. Joshua, do you have anything to say before I continue? Because, oh man, he's gearing up.
You know I have
I'm
stuff
looking
to
at you
say, but
squirming in your chair. You're squirming in your chair.
I didn't think that we were actually going to get into it at the very, like in the middle as we're trying to finish Genesis. I thought we were going to like try to finish Genesis at least and then bring up the topic.
If you want, we can.
Well,
I just thought
we're already in the water, bud.
I know.
Let's go swimming.
All right,
because we're
So
right before.
basically,
The reason I bring it up now is just because we're getting ready to see that, and before we see what Jacob says, we should talk about that idea because we've passed over it a couple times.
Manifest.
So first of all, as I said, I think in the last episode or the episode before, I mentioned it before, but the concept of my question was, if a prophecy is never told, would that quote unquote prophecy still come true?
Well, let's put it a different way. If a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's what the concept of trees will always fall in the wood.
That's not true at all. The question is, if a tree were to happen to fall, or so happen to have fallen,
It's that's a different.
That fell
that's a whole different type of thing than
We're not talking
what
about
I was
whether
asking.
trees fall or not.
I know that just came to my head. I wasn't trying to do it. I just wanted to say
Yes,
that.
because define what a prophecy is.
A prophecy is basically like a prediction of the future.
It's a revealing of the future. It's not. It's something that's going to come to pass.
That's what he just said.
It's a prediction.
No.
And a
Revealing
revelation are
is
two different things.
Yeah, but if you look up even in the dictionary, it's a prediction of what is to come, not a revealing of what is to come. A prediction.
Let's see.
I mean, that's like
technically the Webster is a prediction.
They both kind of mean the same thing. Revealing or predicting. It's not.
Listen,
predicting is like you're there's an idea that I get when that word is like it's guessing what's going to happen. When God speaks something, you have to understand again, the base of what I'm saying is that when you see prophecies in the Bible or somebody uttering a prophetic word, it's not a guess or a prediction. Like God's like, I think this is what's going to happen. The purpose God gives for revealing prophecies through his the first part, the patriarchs, and then later on we'll see through prophets, is to show, to warn, to reveal, to help, to build up, to admonish, to reprimand. He gives these words and these things. He says they're going to happen.
I think the prediction route I think prediction is a good way to even look at it, because if we're not using the word prediction, then we're kind of going into the realm of predestination type of concept.
I mean, we're not going to predestination because again,
but it is because if God is revealing the future, I understand that he knows what the future is going to be, but if he knows what the future is going to be, then that future is basically kind of like already happened theoretically. So we're not on a loop, right? Because if the future already happened, then theoretically we would be on a constant loop, and we've been doing this over and over and over and over again. So it cannot, like that word cannot be used. It has to be a prediction. It's like God is the ultimate chess player, and he knows so many steps ahead. That's why a lot of his prophecies, a lot of the things that are said when it comes from the Lord, a lot of times it says, if you do this, then this will happen. If you don't do this, then this will happen. A lot of it goes into that retrospect. Now, when God is saying to Isaac and Abraham, I will bless you in multitudes, that is a prophecy. God is basically promising them that he will multiply their descendants and they will be great nations. That's something that's in God's basically control. I'm not saying that God is not in control of time and not in control of anything. I'm not putting God in a box, but we have to choose kind of how we're going to address this and which direction we choose. Because if we do say that he's revealing, then we are saying that he knows what the future already looks like. That's
later he does. He knows already what the future looks like, and he gives it for.
Then you believe in predestination.
The word. Well, let me tell you this story in the Bible. In exactly where is it? In 2 Kings, not 1 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 20, you have the story of Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah. And Hezekiah becomes ill, and Isaiah comes to him and tells him, "This says the Lord, you're going to die. But get your affairs in order. You're going to. This was the prophecy. Like this is it for you."
God saw that he was ill.
What happens?
What happens?
He turns his face to the wall and he begins to cry out to the Lord and say, Lord, I've served you all my life. I've done this. I've done this. You know, he cries out for mercy to God in that moment. And it says that before the prophet even leaves the room, the word of the Lord comes back to him and says, I will give you life and continue. Like, I'm going to give you some more years. You're not going to die because
so that's in God's control. God can do whatever he wants.
But it's not predestinated because we are not robots predestined towards a certain fate. God has
I don't know if that's the greatest example because, listen, I don't know if that's 100% the greatest example because if that guy was sick and God's looking and was like, bro, you're going to die, it's pretty clear, especially in that time, if you saw somebody that was sick and especially probably extremely sick, you can kind of, if you want to gamble, the ratios are probably pretty high that the guy's probably going to die.
So what you're telling me is you don't believe that God truly knows what's going to happen. He makes predictions based on the evidence we see.
I'm not God. I can't really say.
That's literally what you're saying.
I'm saying that it contradicts itself if we're saying that if we're saying that he knows step by step of what the future is going to take place, then predestination now has to be what I believe. Which I don't believe.
He knows what's going to happen doesn't mean that you're forced into that.
He's just a master chess player, maybe.
Let me say something to both of you. Was Jesus predestined?
Yes.
Jesus was pre-planned, predestined. When there's a destiny or to destine something for someone, you're basically, it's another word to say you planned it. It's planned.
From the very beginning, God has a plan. God has a desire. God has a purpose for creating humanity. And I like to think of it in this way, and we're not going to have the answer. We're not going to solve predestination and prophecy and these answers that are super.
No, but that ties in to the whole prophecy concept. Okay, go.
In the beginning, God and we talked about this, before he created the foundations of the earth, he knew what would happen. And he has a plan of salvation. That's kind of what we're doing with this podcast. We're going through the stories to show that despite our inability to do the right things, and despite the fact that, we are full of sin and we continually just mess up, God still uses us and to fulfill his plan of salvation. Throughout the thousands of years, he planned to save his children. The moment that they fell off, the moment that they died in sin in the garden, he had a plan to redeem them. And he wanted to do that through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Now, we've seen through the life of the patriarchs throughout the story of Genesis up until now that the humanity is not perfect. Even though he has a select chosen people, even they are terrible. Judah sleeping with prostitutes. Jacob being deceitful throughout his life, Abraham lacking in faith in certain areas when it came to, there's nobody that was perfect, nobody that was righteous. Only God is righteous, and through his righteousness, he has a plan to save. But the individual still has a choice. I don't think it was God's plan for Perez to be born through prostitution, but God still, through his grace, operates around our imperfections to bring about his ultimate goal. And after the birth of Jesus and the death of Jesus, the Bible actually tells us that he would hope for none of us to fall away or to perish. But we have the free will of humanity to decide. Just because he knows the outcome doesn't mean we lack the choice as to whether or not we'll take one path or another. Now, when you're talking about prophecy is given to humanity in order to help, in order to reveal. It's another gift of grace from God to help his people follow down the path that he has for the salvation, for their greater good. He gives words, he gives blessings in order to help us, to reveal things to us, to encourage us, especially his children. And when you're talking about Jacob and his 12 sons that he brings near to his deathbed, he's bringing his children there to give a blessing and a final word based on who they are, based on how they will be. But you'll see that the words that Jacob speaks over each one of his sons, it kind of defines them and it follows them. And then in the future, we'll talk about, I want to break down each one. It actually shows that what he spoke, the reason I believe it was prophetic and it was from God is because it came to pass. And I believe that humans don't have that ability on their own. Only God has that ability to know the future and to accurately depict it and to make his plan come to pass. I mean, does that make sense?
That's good. What's your greater meaning, Josh?
I agree with you, Andrew, to a limited extent, maybe. I agree. In other words, I agree.
I know.
To
I know
tie
you're
in,
not, like, just like trying to be like, no, that's not true.
No.
I know that you're thinking about different, and again, I'm not gonna have the perfect answer to be like, this is why predestination is wrong. I mean, nobody's beating anybody 100%. It's just you're gonna have to take
the way
the Bible,
my brain
take the words
works.
of God.
The way my brain works is like trying to have a conversation maybe with my wife. And when I'm talking to my wife, I have to choose my words carefully, because if I say something that, if I say the wrong word, she'll be like, oh, but what about this? Or what about this? So I'm trying to be careful on really like the point of kind of contradiction. That's what I'm trying to say. There's certain words that if I say them, then basically I can be tied to a certain type of belief where I don't even believe it. You know what I mean?
Say them.
What? I can be tied to a belief of unbelief?
No, that he doesn't believe in.
No.
Well, yeah. Either way, what you were saying basically with how Jacob is basically blessing the children, and when he's saying what he's saying, it's coming to pass. It's because it must have been from the Lord. So Nathan, I'm going to bring you up to kind of speed of our conversation that we've had before. Basically, what I was saying was, they're not necessarily words from the Lord. They're Jacob, Isaac, Abraham. All these people are blessed by the Lord, and God says that he will be with them. Now, if God is with them and God is blessing them, basically, because they have the power of God behind them, whatever they say has the power of God with it. So just like even the example with Elijah and Elisha, when Elisha kind of goes wild on those kids that are making fun of him and says, the bear, like a bear is going to maul you, and a bear shows up and just...
Yeah.
Hey, they called him a baldy.
And then he just curses them, and then by his curse,
is that
bears
God
come out and maul.
Is that God that basically prophesied that, or was it Elisha that out of anger said what he said, and God, because he basically is like, I said that I was going to be with you, and I was going to empower you with whatever you say, because you are the chosen man.
Yeah,
that is because
a double portion of the spirit that was upon Elijah, which is the spirit of God. Now, you made a very, very good point. You said it exactly. Whenever God is the anointing, that blessing is upon you, right? The patriarchs had that blessing upon them, the anointing upon them. Later on, Elisha, Elijah, Isaiah, these prophets, the anointing of that prophetic gift was upon them. The Spirit of the Lord would come upon them. The reason why something like what happened with Elisha could happen, and the reason why even in Jacob he doesn't go, thus says the Lord, it's what he's saying. As a man, you have, and I try to explain it like this, there's three different wills. I think I talked to you about this earlier too, Nathan. There's three different wills that drives a person. There's your personal will, your desires, your ambitions, the things that drives you from within. There's the wills of those around you that push upon you, whether it's your wife or your community or your job or your whatever it is, that try to push you and drive you towards specific goals. And then there's the will of God, who has his overarching will and plan for your life. Now, whenever you become a follower of God, whenever you decide I'm going to walk with God, and these prophets, when they receive the anointing of God, what happens is the closer you are with God, the closer you walk with God, your will and God's will become the same will. Your desires become God's desires. And that's how God wants it to be for all of us. When Jesus talks about, he talks about asking anything in his name and the Father will give it. Or if you say to this if you have the faith of a mustard seed and you say to this mountain, be removed into the sea, he's trying to reveal a point where it's not just you can ask for anything like a genie in a lamp and he'll grant it to you. But the moment that you decide to follow Christ and you begin to walk along his path and the Spirit of God is in you, you become more like Christ and you submit to the will of the Father, just like Christ on earth did nothing apart from the Father. So when Christ was walking around, he said the Son does nothing except for what the Father shows or teaches or says. So if Jesus said to a man, receive your sight, that he was walking step in step with the will of the Father, just like the prophets of the Old Testament. When they say something, you don't disrespect the prophets of God. And the prophet to utter a curse he's a man that's walking in step with the Father in the anointing of God and in the will and desires of God. Yes, those are the things that will come to pass. That's what you can speak into existence. But you as a human don't have the power to like just with your mouth curse and bless and make things up and say that. Only God has the power to say, let there be light and there'll be light. Let the earth form out of the waters and the earth will form out of the waters.
People will disagree with that.
Probably.
I
agreed
to you. And I know I agreed with you.
That people will disagree with that because there have been instances of people cursing. Now
let's talk about that. Like, there are demonic forces,
and not even in a demonic context. Like, let's look at. I'm a big football fan. Let's look at the curse of Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane was a championship-winning quarterback for the Detroit Lions, and they missed. I don't remember the whole reason why, but after they won a championship, they just traded him without him knowing. They traded him to another team. And he got so angry, and he famously said, the Lions are never going to win for another 50 years. And from that day and 50 years on, the Lions were the worst franchise in NFL history. And then after exactly 50 years, they finally drafted Matt Stafford, which was kind of crazy. So, like, I'm not saying that's like a thing. I'm just saying, there's examples out there of people saying things and then it, like, happening,
I do believe in the
that.
Oh, sorry, Josh, go.
No, with that, your words have a lot of power, and the Bible even
Matt
says
Stafford also went to the same high school as Bobby Lane. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's kind of
there is power in the tongue, right? We all agree with the concept that there is power in the tongue. When something is said and it is said with your mouth, it has power behind it. So
Proverbs tells us that the tongue has a power, life and death in it.
Yes, it has life and death. And exactly even with that curse, you can choose to curse someone or you can choose to bless somebody. Now, when that stuff happens, it's not a prophecy. It's you at that point. This quote unquote curse or blessing starts from when you say it. And when there is power behind your words, it starts from what it is said. It's not like it was planned before, right? It's a thing that happens out of emotion a lot of times, or not even out of emotion, but normally it happens out of emotion. When there's emotion tied with words, that can put a lot of power behind things. You don't always have to basically have either God or the devil on your side. I believe that it can come from your internal being, you yourself, that you are basically, like how you say with that David Brown guy, right? James Brown, David Brown. Either way, like that
Bobby
guy.
Lane?
James Brown.
Bobby Lane. He was filled with so much anger, basically, that he cursed them. Even with the Cubs, apparently some old lady with a goat wasn't allowed to bring her goat into the stadium, and because she got so angry at that point, she basically cursed the Cubs, and she said that they would not win for I don't know how long, and they didn't. They didn't win for like over 100 years until recently. I'm not denying that there are instances like this that you can bring up that are.
Well, let's bring up another one.
I will bring up another one. I will. We have.
Let me.
Okay. All right. I was about to bring in Disney
every
into this,
in history,
but we will.
All I'm saying is that when the Bible tells us that there is power in the tongue of life and death, that you can speak different things in people's lives. If you're underneath God. If I'm walking with the anointing of Jesus, if I have Jesus on my side, no one's going to sum up to me with the most amount of emotion and desire and will and say, I curse you, Andrew, and have power over the blood of Jesus that I walk with. Let me just finish. There is also the fact that when it talks about power of the tongue to give life and death, it's talking about relationally the ability of someone's words, the ability to build up somebody and break down somebody, and the abilities of, like, if you're telling someone that they're terrible. Nathan brought up a video from Curb Your Enthusiasm earlier when we were talking about this with
Steve Carell,
Steve Colbert.
Yeah, Steve Corbell.
He goes up to him and he asks him to take a picture, and then in the process he's arguing with his wife, and then
Larry David doesn't want to take the photo, and so Carell finds out that Larry David's the star of the Broadway show, so he just like points at him and is like, "You will fail," like super hardcore.
It looks like a curse, like you're fail.
And he's like staring at him.
And Larry David, but listen to the thing, Larry David believes, and the episode goes to, like, he fails that episode. If you believe that and you internalize that subconsciously, you're going to start acting in ways where you believe that you're going to fail. If you, in turn, on the opposite side, this is where people get the power of positive attraction and wishing upon, like, success.
Manifestation, basically.
If you
manifest,
if you give yourself a positive attitude and you continue to say, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to succeed, or I'm happy, eventually your subconscious brain is going to act and perceive life in a way where it's going to assume and look over patterns that predict that or show that in your life. Just the same way, like, do you ever notice how whenever you're, like, shopping for a car, I'm a car salesman, right? If you are looking at it for a specific car, you say, man, I really want a new Corvette. And you look up red Corvettes all day for like a couple of days. All of a sudden on the road, maybe before that, weeks before, you never noticed, but now all of a sudden everywhere you look, you see a Corvette. It's because our brains are hardwired to pick up patterns and see things that we didn't, that, you know, in nature, to be able to protect ourselves. Subconsciously in our brain, the way we're wired is we see patterns and we attract the things that we focus on. Even if we're not thinking about it in that moment, it'll pick it up in our subconscious. It's the same thing with positivity, negativity, and these type of things. If you wish that on other people, if they believe that, if that franchise was walking around giving life to that curse that they're not going to win for 50 years, the owner believed it because it became a huge media story and that was the culture, then yeah, they're not trying to, but in the little things they do, they're already defeated in their attitude. And that's where that comes from. But I don't believe that, you know, if I say an apple is going to appear on that table in 3 days, for some reason, Nathan's just going to put an apple there.
Well, then why is there that? Isn't there that verse that if somebody in the Bible, that if somebody curses you, you bless them and that curse will turn like a swift like a sparrow?
Yeah, it's when he's talking about blessing Israel.
Is that a reverse Uno?
I mean, it's a reverse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's what God tells Abraham, is I will bless those that bless you. I will curse those that curse you.
Yeah, but so look, man, curses. I mean, I don't know. I understand where you're coming from, and I understand where Josh is coming from, and I kind of believe. And then with the whole predestination thing, I mean, look,
let's talk about it.
I think that your words do have power. That's
they do.
But I don't. But like, do they have the power to create light out of darkness? No, they don't. We're not God. But what Josh is hypothesizing, can your words speak things to happen to somebody, you know, in a blessing into existence? That's what Josh is hypothesizing, right? That's what you're asking. Like, if the words were never said, would that still have happened? That was his original question.
Yeah. If Hezekiah didn't turn to the wall and pray that God give him more life, would he have gotten more life, or would he have died? Is Josh's question.
He would have
taken it back to the story in 2 Kings. He would have probably died. So that's where you take out the predestination thing and show the reason for prophecy is so that we can actually, God gives us the grace that we can actually, remember Abraham was able to negotiate with God. Like, we have this thing where not, you know, even though it didn't work out for him, but God has that much grace and mercy to us that he takes our feelings and our desires into consideration. But
listen, there's
In Deuteronomy.
we're looking at this.
Yeah, we've been on this for a minute.
I know we could go on here, but this will be the end. We're looking at this topic from a perspective of how we view things, right? You're saying, oh, there's no predestination because I don't believe that we're robots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because humanity, we build things to serve us, right? We build machines, and everything that we build services humanity. But we're not thinking at this like a God, because we're not capable of thinking on the complexity that God looks at, creation and humanity. I mean, from the jump, God created humanity and then gave humanity like the tree of good and knowledge of good and evil, gave them a rule not to have that. If God knew they were going to fail, why did he even put the tree there to begin with? Because we don't understand the like.
I love how we're inadvertently actually going back through reviewing all of Genesis.
No, I'm just saying,
question.
bro. Because I mean, it's a tough thing to like. We can't look at it.
Yeah, we're not going to understand God.
I got another way to look
That's
at
what
it.
I'm saying.
Listen,
Okay,
I got
Josh.
another way to look at it. Basically, it's kind of imagine.
This better be mic drop.
Imagine all of this is like a video game. The concept, even with like Hezekiah, what you were saying, I'm not saying that we're all NPCs, but just imagine like we're all basically part of this game. Everything was written in code, exactly how it's going to happen. God knows,
simulation.
okay, the bartender is going to be a bartender. The guy, I'm going to program this guy. He's going to be walking down the street back and forth. That's his job, walking down the street. Now, he can choose, basically, as with the main characters, he can choose to use the controller and basically GTA style hit that guy. And now the guy that's walking back down the street is now 5 blocks the other way. Or he can choose to do anything, but everything's written already in code. So he knows exactly what's going to happen because he wrote it into existence. It's not a matter of everything already has happened, because with the whole revealing aspect of a prophecy is basically knowing exactly what the future is going to happen because he already saw the future. But if we take a predestination completely out of it, then that concept has to be canceled. So with all of this, if a prophecy and God knowing the future, basically he wrote the future, but not the future in a way where how he sees it happening is exactly going to happen. Because if even with your example, or even with the other guy where which one, Abraham or Isaac, where the king, and God shows up to him and like, you're gonna surely die, and the guy's like, no, I didn't know that she was his sister. I didn't. My heart was pure. Like I had no intention of touching and God basically changes. I know that's triggering for a lot of people, but I believe God can change his mind.
Unless he can't. He absolutely can change his mind.
Yes, but that's triggering for some people. Some people don't believe that God can change his mind, because if a perfect person does, if somebody's perfect, theoretically everything has to be perfect, so there are no mistakes. So if you change your mind, theoretically, then there's things that are mistakes.
I don't understand. What's the problem with predestination? Why is everybody so afraid to be predestined?
It takes away the concept.
It takes away free will.
The
concept of free will.
You were chosen to go to heaven, and then there's nothing you can do that won't.
But we're all called to go to heaven.
That's what I'm saying. We are all predestined
to go to heaven because Jesus died for all of our sins.
But then, if you don't go to heaven, then you're not predestined.
Well, you didn't choose to receive salvation.
It's a play in words. Right. That's what this is. It's not like I said.
Why did you just sigh so heavily?
No, I just
predestined means a path that is chosen.
What is the rest of Genesis? It's like the guy dies and then the end. Like,
no, there's the blessings of the.
We're gonna go through every single one of those.
Yes,
you better be quick with it.
Some of them are
Encanto.
No,
yeah.
We're not doing.
There's no wisdom.
The thing is that the only Disney movie you watch?
It really is.
You literally bring up Encanto a lot.
And
This is the third
because
time.
Encanto
always
has a lot.
I gotta see that movie.
There's no wisdom in Encanto. It's a stupid
Okay,
movie.
well-
I gotta watch it. Is it that good?
If you believe that basically Hollywood is
songs.
ran by a bunch of Satanists and Disney
don't.
has a lot of Satanist lore inside of it, then
I don't.
whatever. Well, some people believe it, but if whether you're the enemy or an ally, whether you're with the devil or with God, both of them, because the devil can't create things. He uses what God has already created. So the concepts of a scheme or even a prophecy through the evil way, I would say it's a copycat of whatever God has. So in Encanto, this guy Bruno has visions, and a vision will not. And it's interesting the way that they worded it. Because he spoke it,
It's not interesting the way we're not dissecting
It is,
the words
because-
of Encanto, bro. We're just
okay.
Let him
I'm
finish.
bringing it
all
up.
right. Finish. I'm sorry.
There's a whole musical basically on because Bruno.
Talk about Bruno.
Yeah.
No.
Because
That's the song is from Encanto. That's a catchy song.
It's got a lot of catchy songs.
That's a very good song.
because Bruno sees these visions, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to happen, but when he speaks it into existence, then it happens. That's basically what they were referencing. So
That
he
is the
sees
popular
it, but he
culture
doesn't
example.
say it. And if he says it and actually puts the vision together, then it's going to happen.
We don't talk about Bruno. I forgot the way this song goes, but
You literally had it.
that's how it goes. We don't talk about Bruno.
No.
No.
I gotta see that movie. You know, I think I tried watching it with your brothers and your mom, and I couldn't.
Rats all on your back.
I can't watch Disney movies
Bro,
sometimes.
I get that's a way to identify. I mean, at least visualize that idea or that concept. But needless to say,
Genesis 49. Let's get into it.
just a little bit. There you go. All right, so let's go
You're so
through
loud.
now that we finally thoroughly discussed it.
Am I loud?
You were so loud for a second in my headphone. I was like, let's get
Genesis-
that mic just a little back.
I hope you guys aren't listening to this in your AirPods.
They most definitely are. All right, so that being said,
That was loud.
I know. That being said, we're going to move into the prophetic words of Jacob to his children, starting with his favorite,
the blessing
and
word.
firstborn.
I'm not. So do I have to? Can you just go through them?
I have the notes for you. If you could go through them, we're going to go through them and explain them. That's
Okay. Gather together.
No, stop.
That I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days.
if you would look at the notes, I have the verses.
I can't look at my Bible and the notes
You
at
don't
the
have
same
to.
time.
That's why I have the verses
Alright, well,
in the notes.
Twist it so I could actually see it. Because I can't see that. I'm blind.
All right. So we start with Reuben. Reuben is the firstborn and Jacob's favorite son.
Reuben,
Just
you
kidding.
are my firstborn. My might and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, you shall not excel. Wow. Because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. What?
Now, they're not all blessings. That's why we have to read this. Jacob does not like all of his kids.
Simeon and Levi are
Hold
brothers.
on, hold on, because I'm just going to give a quick word. Obviously, the story of the rest of these tribes that they're going to become tribes, the sons, are going to be followed through, are going to be talked about in the stories of the Bible as we continue. But to confirm that Reuben kind of loses his firstborn first right is actually in 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verses 1 through 2. It states that even though Reuben was the firstborn, because of his sin, the firstborn rights were given to Joseph. And Reuben actually could no longer even be listed in genealogical order in the rest of the Bible. That's how upset
Wow.
Jacob was about that.
Wow.
So yeah, that's not really a blessing. You say, you shall fail.
All right, let's go to Judah then.
No, go to Simeon and Levi. Why
Wow.
would you skip over Simeon and Levi?
Simeon and Levi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty
Yeah.
are in their dwelling place.
God bless them.
Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united in their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I'll divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel.
So yeah, interesting thing here that we'll note. Remember that Simeon and Levi were the brothers that killed Shechem and Hamor, the city of Shechem, and all the men, and plundered the city after the Dinah incident.
They made them get circumcised and then killed them. Right.
But notice how Jacob doesn't curse them; he curses their anger and curses that first, that bad part of them. And when he says, and another interesting thing, when he says, I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them through Israel, the Levites and the tribe of Levi actually were scattered throughout all of Israel because they actually were adopted as the priests of the nation, and they did not inherit any land or area. They were actually serving throughout Israel. Their tribe would be in all the different tribe sections and serve in the tabernacle, or not the tabernacles, in the different places. And so that was a word that came to pass for them. Judah, remember Judah and Tamar, the one that kind of adopts that, I wouldn't say because Joseph adopts a lot of the inheritance, but Judah takes place a lot of the first. Well, this is the first blessing, if you will. It's verses 8 through 12.
Yeah. Judah, you are he whom your brothers shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, what is going on? Judah is a lion's whelp. That one. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down, he lies down as a lion. And as a lion, who shall rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. And to him shall be the obedience of the people.
This is a prophetic word talking about how the fact that the scepter will not.
What is a whelp?
It's like a baby, like a young lion, not a cub, but like a lion before its mane comes in. It's usually
Judah's a lion's whelp. You that because I've never heard the word whelp in my life.
It's the first time you see Judah will be known as Jesus is referred to as the Lion of Judah. That identity will follow through their entire, descendants and the rest of the children of Judah. That's kind of like a whole symbol for their whole tribe. Did I read all of Judah? Yeah, you did. I mean, his clothes,
the donkey stuff,
and his donkey's colt to be the choice vine, wash his garment in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine. His teeth are whiter than milk.
Do you think the brothers were looking around like, what is he talking about all these animals for?
It's a messianic prophecy. It's talking about who his line. We have not only kings, but eventually Christ himself. And the verse that says, until Shiloh comes, Shiloh means gift of God or the peaceful one. So it's prophetically uttering that not only will he come, many kings will come from this specific child, but the King of Kings will eventually come with him, and he will not stop ruling until Shiloh comes. That's a big deal. Now, Zebulun, verse 13, right. He gets a one-verse burst.
Yeah, this is the best one. Zebulun shall dwell by the haven of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his borders shall adjoin Sidon. That's pretty powerful.
Zebulun in Joshua 19, when the allotments are given to the different children of Israel after they enter the promised land, he inherits the area of the around the coast near Lake Tiberias, reaching to where the Mediterranean Sea is. Interesting to note that Joseph, Mary, and Jesus actually, when they return from Egypt after escaping Herod, will take quote unquote haven in Galilee and the areas that Zebulun inherits.
Do you think Zebulun was like really good at swimming? No. And he's just like, I want to go over here. You're going to take the ships.
I saw what you did.
Maybe.
The other day.
Yeah.
Probably. Issachar, 14 and 15.
Let me go. Right. Issachar is a strong donkey. You got to stop. Issachar is a strong donkey, lying down between two burdens. He saw that rest was good and that the land was pleasant. He bowed his shoulder to bear a burden and become a band of slaves.
that becomes fulfilled later. The land that he inherits, his descendants, rather than leaving, actually ends up getting overtaken, and they actually refuse to go across the Jordan into a specific area, and they actually get enslaved at one point in later in the story. So we'll cover that.
Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels, so that its riders shall fall backward. I have waited for your salvation, O Lord.
That's a blessing if I ever heard one.
Gad, a troop shall trample.
Hold on,
Oh,
let me
sorry.
give an interesting thing for each guy. I did all this work.
I'm sorry. He called him a snake. That's not good.
He also called him a judge. Through the tribe of Dan, Samson, who was a judge of Israel.
Samson.
Yeah, is one of the tribe of Dan. And it also means he who vindicates or judges. There's no other really reference to judging. Jeez. All right, continue.
Gad, a troop shall tramp upon him, but he shall triumph at last. That's it for Gad. Yeah, there's not much more to that.
Gad was one of the tribes. Also,
He was trampled upon by troops
who chose to stay on the other side of the east side of the Jordan. I'm sorry, I said that about the other guy. In Numbers 23, and they were isolated from the other tribes, and they were attacked by raiders. That's mentioned in like Judges 10, 14, Chronicles, Jeremiah.
Bread from Asher shall be rich, and he shall yield royal dainties.
The area he inherited was very rich in wheat, olive oil, milk, butter. Like it was kind of like a very productive area. Guys, I really have to pee again.
I wish you would have said that before.
I know, dude. I'm like trying to hold it in for the Suns, but I just,
I go.
man, I'm gonna die.
You know, I've been having to go since we started, and you don't see me complaining. I take
Well,
my
dude, you should go. Go now if you have
UTI
to go.
like a man. No, I take my UTI like a man because I don't trust your editing skills. I think you leave all these in them.
No, they are out.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I've made a couple mistakes.
You leave bathroom breaks in them. We're gonna be the only podcast that has bathroom breaks in their thing.
No,
Like,
no.
legit.
Joe Rogan has some before. I've heard like, hey, I gotta go pee, and then Joe Rogan just keeps talking.
And then they come back. Yeah, they're like talking to each other like we are.
There's a lot of podcasts out there that it's live the whole time, and they don't cut anything out.
Yeah, I don't personally care if you never cut anything out, honestly.
I'm sorry, maybe people go, what did he tell her?
Look into my eyes and it's easy to see 1 and 1 makes 2, 2 and 1 makes 3. What's destiny?
Verse 21 is Naphtali.
Naphtali is a deer let loose. He uses beautiful words.
The only relation
I
I
have
can
nothing
see
else
to
to
this
say about
was,
that guy.
I mean, that's a pretty nice, short and sweet. At least it wasn't, he shall fail, like Reuben.
He's a deer let loose, dude.
Later on, Deborah is from the tribe of Naphtali, who is also a judge and leads Barak in Judges 6. And there are some allusions, there are some connections there in the way that they serve, and the things she says are very beautiful words and whatnot.
All right, let's get to the good one.
Joseph.
Joseph is a fruitful bough by a well. His branches run over the wall. The archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him, and hated him. But his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. By the God of your father who will help you, and by the Almighty who will bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the breasts of the womb. The blessings of your father have excelled the blessings of my ancestors. Up to the utmost bound of the everlasting hills, they shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers.
I wonder which one was his favorite.
He said blessing like 8,000 times to Joseph.
And a lot of the blessings he gave were already things that happened. Like, it was like he was already kind of blessed and,
Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
Honestly, I I was trying to figure out. That's just so. Is that good or bad?
That's obviously good. He takes
Apostle
over
Paul
people and then splits up all the winnings.
Apostle Paul was a Benjamite, and he was pretty ravenous in his persecution of the Jews or the Christians before he was converted.
Benjamin is Benjamin Stark.
That too.
That's where he got it from.
There was a judge named Ehud. This is gonna be a crazy story, but he stabs a king in like the fat stomach, and the fat is so fat that he can't pull it out, and then he like revolts. Yes, Esther and Mordecai were Benjamites. I mean, it's
All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is what their father spoke to them. And he blessed them. He blessed each one according to his own blessing.
yeah. And last thing we see in Genesis chapter 49, Jacob entreats and makes him promise to bury him in the cave of his fathers, not to bury him in Egypt. So when he passes away, he wants to be in that same cave that is in the field of Machpelah before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite. So that's a request that he had. And when Jacob had finished commanding his sons, he drew up his feet in his bed and breathed his last and was gathered to his people. So thus ends the life of Israel, even though they call him Jacob here. The man himself is dead, but the nation of Israel lives on.
Yes.
And Joseph, the chapter 50, the final chapter of the book of Genesis, is it carries this last final note of death and burial, and kind of it's like a really good conclusion to like an epic story of a multiple family, and like the sequel of Exodus is such an awesome like you ever read a really good book and then the second one's even better and it just gets better and better. Like it really does follow that same way. But Joseph actually commanded, what's interesting, if we go into chapter 50, Joseph, because they're in Egypt, Joseph commanded his servants and physicians to embalm his father, so mummify him in the style that was popular in Egypt. And it was 40 days required for the embalming.
And then they mourned him for 70.
Yep. And when the days of mourning were over, Joseph goes to Pharaoh and entreats him and asks him, please, I mean, if I have found favor in your eyes, my dad made me swear to bury him in the land of Canaan. And Pharaoh gives Joseph that permission to go up with all the tribe and all the sons and everybody that was there. Now, Joseph was a very important figure in Egypt at this time. Remember, we're still in that period of famine where Joseph's governing is necessary and he's got a lot of responsibilities, but Pharaoh has mercy on him on this time and says, go and bury your father as he made you swear. So
you know why it was
I
40
thought that
days?
was pretty beautiful.
40
I think it just took that long to embalm.
It basically
the process of embalming.
Yeah, so it takes, I guess, about 40 days for all the body and the natural salt and to absorb the fat. So they put salt in the body to absorb all the moisture and the fat, and then
So they remove the organs. They remove all the organs.
and then after that
Put
they
the heart in
stuff
like
them.
an urn. Yeah, they pretty much empty out the innards. They suck out the brain through the nose. And they then, yeah, you're right, fill them, sew them back up, let the salt to preserve the skin and all the moisture. You're right. That's exactly right. It's pretty disgusting, but it is a way to preserve a body. And it pretty much, I mean, they didn't have embalming like we do today, so bodies would rot very quickly. It was very expensive. It was only the most rich and the nobility and the royalty would actually go through the process of an embalming because of how tedious, how long, and how expensive that process was. So it was actually a great honor for Jacob in Egypt to receive an embalming. And they make this whole troop, they take two great chariots and they make a a whole caravan of mourners down to the land of Canaan, and they left the land of Goshen that they were given, and they come upon the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan. And it's interesting, they stop there and they mourn. It says with very deep lamentation, and they stayed there for another 7 days, to where everybody that kind of stops and sees this large group of people from Egypt mourning, obviously, at this threshing floor, they were like, man, there must be a deep, deep mourning of the Egyptians. There must be something crazy going on in Egypt, you know?
Yeah. Another cool fact about Joseph. Another cool fact about Joseph, the fact that he commanded the physicians to take over the embalming process, because in Egypt it's a whole ritual. You have the magicians and involved in all of this, and it becomes like a whole thing. He did it in an almost expedited type of way, and he only commanded the physicians to do this so that it wouldn't basically he wouldn't have to get other gods involved. He would only have to stay true to the true God of Israel. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I mean,
normally magicians were always part of.
I don't know enough about it to say yes or no. Sure, yeah, I thought that was just a physician. I don't think he did it intentionally. I mean, he might have done it intentionally, but was the priest involved in that process?
Yes, because it has to do with the afterlife. Normally with the embalming process, you put a bunch of gold on them. You put a bunch of earthly possessions so that they can take it with them into the afterlife. You have almost every major multi-god religion has this. I mean, you have the Norse with Valhalla, and you have to die with your swords, and sometimes you sacrifice slaves and other people or even family members so that
they put them on boats with like all their possessions and they
yeah, so they can have that in the afterlife. It's the same concept with the Egyptians, where in the afterlife, I mean, another Disney movie actually hit on that. Not movie. What's that one show with the shadow guy? Come on, you know who I'm talking about. Moon Knight hits on all of this basically, where to go to the afterlife.
That's
and
a DC comic.
No, that's a Marvel
comic, buddy.
Or a Marvel comic.
And it was done by Disney.
You said that's that's a Marvel comic, buddy. Stay in your lane.
Yeah. It was actually a fantastic comic show.
No, it's not Aquaman.
Yes, Moon Knight was possessed by an Egyptian god. So it's a long story short. After that time, his sons carry him to the cave of Machpelah, and they bury him there with his fathers. And then Joseph returns to Egypt with his brothers and all who went with him to bury his father. Now they have an interesting little conversation there, because remember that, you know, Joseph's brothers were still skeptical, to say the least. Like,
well, yeah, because now the dad's dead. You're like, please don't kill us.
They were literally expecting to be like, well, now that our only protection's gone, he's straight up going to put us in slavery or something crazy. And
he didn't.
I mean, they suspect that he'll pay his trespasses, and they actually fall on their face. And there's a very famous verse that comes out of this conversation back and forth between Joseph and his brothers. Verse 20 in chapter 50, but as for you, you meant evil against me, but God had meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive.
That's a very famous verse.
It is, like, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. That's used a lot and out of context as well, for different things. And it's kind of what we talked about earlier. It's like God has this overarching plan and will for humanity, but despite our best efforts to foil it and to be evil, God still uses that. And we see that in the life of Joseph, that the brothers meant to sell him as a slave and to never see him again. They wanted to get rid of him. But God had foresaw the famine, which they didn't even conceive of at that time. And because of his promise to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, that he will make of them a great nation, and that he will bring about a seed of Eve to step upon and crush the head of the serpent, he made that life of Joseph in such a way to where he will eventually rise up and turn that evil intention into God's good purpose. So that's is a beautiful kind of circle, kind of everything comes to a head there at the final point.
And then Joseph dies.
Yeah, Joseph lives to the ripe age of 110, and it says that he gets to see his great-great-grandchildren, and before his death, Joseph prophetically tells his brothers that God will visit them one day and bring them out of the land of Egypt. And he tells them to take his bones with him when they go. Now, Joseph is also embalmed, but it's almost like he knows it's going to be a minute to where they need to take his bones, not just his corpse or his embalmed body. But God will visit them and one day take them out of the place of Egypt. Even though they're there, they're comfortable, they've inherited the best of the land. We bring the story of the beginning of God's people, the book of Genesis, to a close here as we prepare to go into the story of Moses and the Exodus out of Egypt, as the book of Exodus is named after. God will indeed visit the Israelites 400 years later.
Genesis is done.
Boom. Josh?
I'm still captivated by the concept of Joseph going to bury his father with an extreme entourage of thousands of people. Basically, you have all the elders of Pharaoh's house. You have all the elders of the land of Egypt. You have everybody in the house of Joseph. Everybody in the house of each one of his brothers. Everybody in the house of Jacob. And then you also have all the servants of Pharaoh. Like Pharaoh basically is like, take all my servants, like everybody other than the little kids and the women and like people like that. But everybody else,
and the little ones.
Yeah. Everybody else
And
he takes. It's like,
It took
of course, everybody in
the
the land of Egypt is kind of wondering, like, what's going on here? Like,
Well, no, the people in the land of Canaan were like, what are the Egyptians doing here? Like,
oh,
why are
yeah.
there so many people? It said it was a very great gathering. That shows you how impactful Jacob was and how influential Joseph was.
So we ended
more,
Genesis.
I would say how influential Joseph was because Jacob
really is, yeah.
Jacob is the father of Joseph, and Joseph is basically the savior of all Egypt. So everybody in Egypt is indebted to Joseph. So Joseph basically has as much power as Pharaoh with the permission of Pharaoh.
Yeah, it was definitely a very great gathering. Wasn't a small event to where they even made a pit stop and just kept mourning for 7 days before finishing their journey. It was definitely a grand conclusion,
So we ended Genesis.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Woo! Done.
What do we do from here?
We throw a party. We dance.
Okay, so what do y'all want to do? Do you guys want to do like a greater meaning Genesis?
No. We're going to kind of hit on a couple of things.
Bit. Yeah, we wanted to touch a little bit now that we finished the story. It's quite a milestone for the Greater Meaning podcast. It's a milestone for you, me, and Josh. We've talked about a lot. We've covered a lot. We've missed a lot. We didn't have time to fully flesh out everything and every idea we've had. Obviously, in the heat of the moment, in conversation, we're going to pass by. So we wanted to take a moment at the end of this episode as a 20th extravaganza episode, or the 20th episode extravaganza, and kind of recap just a little bit, talk about our favorite moments, maybe something that we wish we would have brought up, something interesting. I was going to start with Josh and see if he wanted to talk about something that we talked, or maybe remind us about something from the entire book of Genesis and even Job.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to hit on was something from the very beginning, almost with like the creation and with Noah, basically the concept of first off maybe dinosaurs, and then the second one of the no rain thing. Was there rain after? I mean, what did it rain before Noah?
I think
I
so.
thought we
first things
talked about
first.
that it didn't rain.
We did.
We said it didn't rain.
We
before
kind
the
of
first
did,
rain.
but as I was kind
We
of
have
looking,
time to
in-
really talk about it.
No, we don't. This is a whole episode. That's a whole up.
okay,
We
well, with the
answered
whole
that
rain
question.
thing, basically, as I was rereading some of this stuff, it caught to my attention a specific part where God introduces the rainbow. And the only time you ever really see a rainbow is basically when after you have all the rain and with the projection of the sun and stuff like that, you see a
Sun
rainbow.
going through the
So
mist and
if
the
this is the
water
first time they
molecules,
see a rainbow after it
it
rains,
refracts into different parts.
yes, but I'm saying
refraction
that
of the
if this
light.
is the first time they see a rainbow and it's and after the rain, then that kind of almost kind of hints at like this is the first time it's actually ever rained like this.
It could be. I mean, that's definitely solid evidence or argument to say that before then, because remember that in the creation it says that a mist came up from the ground in those days, and water.
Unless the sun doesn't exist before it either.
It did, because in creation God created the greater light for the day and the lesser night.
I want to tackle the dinosaurs thing more
Yeah,
than the
yeah,
rainbow.
yeah.
We talked about the rain and the rainbow. Let's go
Yeah,
back to
but the
dinosaurs.
rainbow is a pretty okay. All right, we'll talk about.
We mentioned the rainbow. I have mentioned the rainbow in many episodes.
Did it rain?
Like dinosaurs, though. I love dinosaurs. I love dinosaur nuggets.
I just gave my daughter Dino Nuggies this evening.
I like
Delicious.
I like
I had Little
going
Caesars.
to the museums and looking at dinosaurs.
I believe that dinosaurs were genetic mutations before the flood, and there were examples of corruption on the earth, of like the genetic makeup of different animals crossbreeding and intermingling, and there are species that don't exist anymore.
Crocodiles exist
That's true.
and sharks.
Yeah, but
Those
have you
were
seen a
of God's
Tyrannosaurus
creation.
skeleton.
Now, what if
I've seen a Tyrannosaurus skeleton.
Yeah, that's different than a crocodile.
Yeah, you know,
If
they
it
might have been
says-
giant bird-like creatures,
if it
there's
says
a lot
that
of stuff that go
basically
extinct.
the fallen were basically not only having intimate encounters with just women, they were having encounters with almost every living thing. Then imagine, you know, if they were having it with reptiles.
If they were reproducing with reptiles and other animals,
Yeah, so then they were giants, right? You have giant humans because of the reproduction with the Nephilim. I mean, with the angels. And if the humans are giant, then you would only presume that if they were doing the same thing with reptiles, then the reptiles become giant. And I think that it's really smart that they chose reptiles if they did do this, because reptiles they have extremely strong skin. You can't really penetrate. They're very smart, right? So yeah, I mean, imagine crocodiles. They never sleep, right? Like they sleep with half of their brain still functioning. So, I mean, I would choose a crocodile.
I'm glad that, I mean,
so
pterodactyls are
weird.
terrifying to me. Those are the scariest dinosaurs to me.
that's true. They just swoop in and grab
and then
you,
the
that's
other
it.
concept. The other concept is all these craters that we have. Apparently, on the Earth, we have about 200 something craters, and when
30 of them are on your face.
Oh,
actually,
I'm sorry.
synchronized Josh Byrne.
the thing about when something falls, normally it would have a skittish type of way. Like it wouldn't if it wouldn't just come straight down and then just make a hole, right?
Maybe depends on how
Well-
fast it's coming. They're usually
No, there's a rolling-
Craters are formed by
yeah.
things that come really fast. No,
Yes.
I'm just asking.
Yes, but it doesn't normally come just straight down. The way that the Earth theoretically is spinning, it would have to when it comes down. It basically it comes almost at an angle, and then when it hits
Well,
the
it enters
Earth,
our atmosphere.
it should be sliding.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh,
I'm
you're
trying to
saying
say.
why? Oh, okay. I get what you say. So you say, why is it a circle and why isn't it not like a line?
Again, the speed at which it hits us.
Now, with the
ball
Watchers,
here,
when they fell, there
and
was
if
about
it comes
200 Watchers
slow-
that fell from heaven. And then when they fall from heaven, there's some people that believe that these craters could be from the fallen. And when they fell, now I'm also of the retrospect that there are lizard people in heaven. I mean,
Let's back up 3 steps. Because you're talking,
You jumped over.
We didn't just say open up every can of worms. We were saying, what's your favorite moments from Genesis?
None of this was
craters-
in Genesis, Josh.
Craters are formed by
None
fallen
of this
angels,
was in Genesis,
and
Josh.
there are reptile
Yes.
people in heaven.
because we have the
let's start with
serpent
first one.
deceiving. We have the
You know,
serpent.
We find rocks in these holes often. Like they're pretty much. It's not like, oh, why is this crater here?
Maybe the fallen angels were
Or
rock
rocks.
people.
Oh, don't bring up that no Russell. What was it?
The
No.
Noah movie.
The
They
Russell
weren't
Crowe.
rock people. They were encapsulated by
They
the
were,
earth.
Their bodies were so hot it melted with the firmament.
Either
Or
way,
there was
basic,
a thing.
what I'm trying to hit at was
Fantastic Four.
the serpent that deceived Eve, and if we believe that is the devil, and the devil, and in Revelations it's saying the great serpent of old, and it even talks about the battle in heaven where it was a dragon and everything. So if heaven has dragons and the enemy is portrayed as the dragon and all his followers, which, like how we said before, these are two separate falling outs, right? You have the Lucifer when he takes a third of heaven with him, and then you have the Watchers that were prescribed the task of watching and making sure all these nations and the people, everything was going accordingly. When they fell. So this is what I'm trying to talk about, the concept of them falling. And because when they fell, they're the ones that taught mankind certain things. When the devil fell,
I mean, that's in the apocryphal Bible.
Apocryphic.
no, that's also in the actual Bible itself.
Apocryphic.
Apocryphic.
You also have it in the Bible, and it literally says with
Antediluvian. I'm sorry.
you have it in Genesis in the very beginning, basically. Oh, where was it? Either way, where they lusted after the women and they came down.
Yeah,
but then we talk about
They
this
made a
in the book of
pact.
Enoch. They met on
And then
a
this is
mountain.
the one that I'm also
Mount
talking about
Horeb.
when
They
I
didn't
talked about
fall to the earth. The fall
came
doesn't
down.
represent them actually knocked off a mountain and falling down.
they did a superhero landing.
No,
with
the fall is like
Created a
they
crater.
fell out of grace. They fell out of good favor with the Lord and fell into sin.
So they were already here?
Yes, they were here. That's the whole point. The whole point is like they were on the mountain. They made a pact and they were here on the earth.
No.
And they're falling.
They came down. They came
Yes.
down.
But
They did come
Are you
down.
just trying to say that craters are signs of the fallen angels?
No, that was just like one of the slight examples.
Oh, what are you trying to say? I'm genuinely trying to follow.
Well, we were talking about dinosaurs. I'm trying to say that the species that came down, some of them must have been of reptilian, basically a reptilian race. So maybe
Why
that's
are
why
you
they
so-
chose.
He's saying some of the fallen angels are reptile people.
He's saying that some of the creatures in heaven that were angels were
They came down.
they
They
were
were
reptile.
dinosaurs.
They were reptilian.
Yeah, they came down as dinosaurs.
Well, we
Well,
know that
they
the
maybe they
cherubim,
did
the
come
four
down as
angels-
dinosaurs, but they maybe that's why they chose to reproduce with reptiles, and then that's what came out of it. Or they reproduced with women, and then now you have these giant like reptilian creatures that probably had a brain or weren't dumb. But
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
We know that the four living creatures that stay around the throne of God in Revelation, they have the faces of lions, humans, oxen, and eagles. So there are different types of angels. I don't know if there were. What does this have?
It says that there was dragon.
Us?
Okay, it does say that there was a dragon in heaven and there was a war. That's a fact.
Yeah, but you never think that maybe sometimes.
But does that say it in Genesis?
It says it in Revelation. Don't you think that sometimes they're just speaking like metaphorically, too? Like it's not always.
Is it metaphorical that there's these different headed creatures around the throne?
It also talks about like the Scarlet Woman, and like
that's in Revelation.
Yeah, it talks a lot. There's a lot of
that's things to come.
And
if you look at
like
Google,
symbolic.
if you look at Google Maps, and you look down at the bottom of South America, and you will because it says in Revelation that he was the great serpent of old, and then a dragon and a third of the angels fallen and all that. Trying to say, like, even before the fall, like, he was just a dragon. That was his main form. That basically.
And there are other angels that were just reptilian angels.
Yes.
Okay. And then those angels that were corrupted, not only did the Watchers see that the sons of men were beautiful and took for themselves wives, and then the offspring that they produced were Nephilim, but there must have been other fallen angels that were reptilian in nature, quote unquote, and saw a really hot Komodo dragon and was just like, you know what, I'm going to reproduce with that. And
Bro, first of all, dinosaurs had feathers. We know this.
Do we?
Yes, that's a thing. Yeah. They weren't like all reptiles. They were a bunch of giant birds.
They saw a really hot chicken and was like,
Hey, do me a favor. Open up your maps or your Google Maps, and then look at the bottom of South America, and look at those at the very bottom, zoomed out with the south. What is that? And not
so the tip of Argentina,
South Africa,
zoomed out. Look at that. Look at the body of water. Tell me that doesn't look like a serpent's head.
You talking about the water at South Africa?
South America.
Why are you messing me up, Nathan? I was at South America.
I made a mistake.
Where is supposed to look like a serpent's head?
That looks like a guy standing.
Look at the waters between.
Okay. Andrew doesn't understand the concept of zooming in. He keeps zooming out nonstop.
Well, no,
it's ridiculous watching him do this.
How about you screenshot it and text me a picture, Josh?
No. Let me see your phone.
You have an iPhone.
I'm not looking this up. I'm not doing this.
I don't know what he's trying to. I want to figure this out.
There, I just sent it. Sent it. Take a look at it and see what you think, because over time this has moved, and everything about it. If you look at it close, those islands.
Some of this right here. This little shape right here looks like a serpent head. The currents.
The serpent that circles the earth.
Isn't that like Norse mythology? This great world-eating serpent that Thor fights.
Okay. Everything is connected in a certain way. Yeah, there is. That's part of Ragnarok. It's that they fight this giant serpent. Why do they believe what they believe?
There isn't a giant serpent on the earth. When Christ comes back, he's not going to battle a serpent. And a serpent's
Revelations is a giant dragon that comes out of the sea.
There's a beast that comes out of the sea, but that's also like representing the Antichrist. There's like the beast that is a religious figure and a beast that is a military figure.
Well, that's all. We've broken it down so much that what if it's literal? What if there's an actual beast that comes out of the sea?
It doesn't say anywhere in the Bible.
You have Godzilla. Why is Godzilla portrayed as this giant dragon that comes out of the sea? That's a whole lore. Why is it a lore from the get-go?
Because it sells tickets.
It's like an old movie from Japan that was popular.
It was, but the idea comes from somewhere.
All right. My favorite thing about Genesis.
But if you look at it, it looks like a serpent, like a serpent's head.
No, it does.
I mean, look, they've studied it, and they studied it pretty closely. Like, I mean, you have the nostrils, right, where it's at. You have the eyes, how it's supposed to look. I mean,
man, Andrew, you really can't find it? Mm-mm. What is wrong with you? Can I do
America.
it?
No. You just zoom out.
I like the stories of the wells and the digging of wells.
Nobody liked the stories of the wells.
That was my favorite. And
I was thinking the wells.
And by far, how many downloads we have of that? One. That's like everybody's favorite. The wells.
It's a pretty good episode.
Yeah.
I'm
still trying to follow Josh's. Okay, I understand that there.
How do you not follow what he said?
Listen,
you're not.
The problem is, just because you see something on TV, or you see something in Norse mythology that other people worship,
or you literally see it on the earth,
doesn't mean that it's related to the Bible and there's hidden truth there. We have to. You just can't always keep connecting these things. Does the Bible tell us there was reptilians in heaven?
Why can't you connect something if you see it and there's and it ties to it? Why can't you connect it if the Revelation says that a beast and it talks about a dragon, the great dragon of old, basically that these things will come out of the sea, and then I'm showing you a picture of a giant serpent head just chilling in the ocean.
Wait, that's underwater?
That's underwater.
The picture you sent?
And its nostrils are islands. And those islands have basically these giant volcanoes at each one of them.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Yeah.
You said this.
So when I'm talking about these
Andrew,
craters,
let me see your Google Earth.
No.
Why, dude? Why do you make me do it?
Why don't you open?
Because I don't know how to open Google Earth, bro. Let me just use yours real quick.
Mine
because you keep zooming in the wrong
show. Look at the picture.
Andrew like zooms into nothing, and then he zooms out and he zooms back in.
It's one of those Photoshops.
It's the most fake thing ever, dude.
It's Godzilla's face.
It's so fake.
Underwater beside a ship. A fishing ship in Taiwan. That creepy bit.
I hate that.
Oh, man. Revelation speaks about the figure of Satan deceiving angels and the battle, quote unquote, in heaven and how they were cast out. The Bible also talks about angels being imprisoned underneath the earth and how they will be released in the end times. Dinosaurs, it's tough to sit there and make that connection and be like, yeah, there was reptilian angels that fell and mated with other animals, and then that's where you get dinosaurs from. That's super like out there to just make that assumption.
Why?
Because there's literally no scriptural evidence for it. No? Everybody's just Googling stuff now to try to...
I'm trying to find this dragon. Anyway.
He literally sent the picture of it.
Yeah, but I don't know what that picture is from.
It's from South America.
It's not.
It's from Google.
Mine is in Google because Google doesn't show it.
I'm in Google
What
Maps.
are you talking about?
Either way. So Nathan's favorite part is the wells. I really thought you would bring up the trees again. I was really excited for it.
Well, I've concluded the trees. Remember, the trees, basically, that whole area is the entrance to the Garden of Eden.
Where's the dragon?
Yeah.
That's why they're buried there.
Between South America and
Antarctica?
Yeah, it's called... Isn't that the Drake's Passage? It's like also the most tumultuous and most dangerous sea passage. Yes. Like, people can't sail there. It's like the most
that
rough
doesn't
water.
Look like a dragon.
It looks like a snakehead.
I mean...
It looks like the head of a
even if it came out
serpent.
The water, what is it supposed to do? It can't chill on the earth. Like, it wouldn't even make sense.
Unless the earth is bigger than what it really is portrayed.
I thought we were going to go through like things in Genesis that we're pointing out.
Josh
Google
had a different idea.
I'm looking up snake heads.
Well, I'm sorry that I brought up the snake head.
And this is a Bible podcast, and we're celebrating that we finished the book of Genesis, guys.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the book of Genesis, probably would be the part where Abraham takes 400 men and kills those people. That was pretty cool.
300
kills about 5 kings.
Yeah, the 5 kings.
Was it 300 or 400 guys?
So like a little over 300 men.
That was pretty cool. And then another pretty cool part, my favorite part. The whole Joseph story is kind of cool. Jacob's stories, it's okay.
Isaac?
Abraham's cool. Isaac is probably the worst story in there.
Jeez.
I liked Enoch. You know, the whole thing with Enoch, that was cool.
I'm just gonna go through the whole thing, Nate.
Yeah.
That episode's dope.
I like Enoch. I like Noah. He was cool. Adam was pretty cool.
All right, thank you, Nathan. We appreciate your input.
Everybody was pretty cool, but Isaac.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give the greater meaning
Of what?
of the Book of Genesis.
My head's spinning right now. I don't even know.
We don't have to. We don't even have to give a greater meaning to this episode.
Yes, we do. Come on, just give a greater
least
meaning to the
of
Book of
Joseph.
Genesis. What is your greater meaning for Genesis?
I feel like I gave like 3 this episode. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's been 3 greater meanings. Let's just repeat that. But it really does go toward like in the last. Okay, so I'll go ahead and announce them. I'm going. My favorite part of the books of Genesis was probably the creation, just because I feel like as a podcast we were most intimately close to that episode, just because we let's just say we researched it more than most. It was the first one, and going through and seeing how God personally, authored and created everything that we could see and hear and touch and smell. And it was just really, really cool to see that we have a God so powerful and then that also made us. When I look at the story of Jacob and Joseph, the ending of their story also shows the continuation of the same theme throughout the rest of the book of Genesis. That, and as I said before, even though we meant it for evil, God meant it for good. Even though Eve meant it for evil, she disobeyed God and desired after things that were against his commandment. Even though throughout the rest of the book of Genesis, we have stories of the patriarchs and you have stories of these people that make mistakes. The world falls into sin. God is continually in control and has a plan, and he never, ever fails us. There was a brother that gave a word in church today that really touched me. And he was talking about a buddy of his who's going through the process of adopting. And when you go to adopt, you have this paper that you have to fill out where you have to check off certain things. Are you okay with the child having some type of deformity? Are you okay with the child being born with any addictions? Are you okay with the child having these type of setbacks coming from this type of family? Or, and one of the things that he kind of related to is the same way that God sees us, right? God sees us, and the Bible tells us that we are adopted by him and that we are brought into his family as his children and become heirs to the kingdom. And God, despite our imperfections, despite our sins, adopts us and checks off every one of those boxes. I'm okay with Andrew being imperfect. I'm okay with Andrew slipping up and lacking in faith, have these sins in his life. As long as he turns and follows me and repents, I'm going to adopt him. I'm going to bring him out of that. And the book of Genesis just shows the beginning of his plan of salvation. So God is in control.
Josh?
With my greater meaning of the book of Genesis, which is also the name that I have given my daughter, because I love
Congratulations,
Genesis.
by the way. Josh's daughter was born 2 days ago. Number 4.
You named your daughter Greater Meaning?
Yes. GMP for short.
He named her Genesis with a J.
That's cool.
Obviously, we can see that Genesis has a lot of fantastic and movie making type of stories inside of it. I mean, you can make a fantastic movie from each one of these. Don't you dare go to the bathroom, Andrew.
I'm not.
Each one of these stories, I mean, one after the other, just kind of like blows your mind from how it takes place, how God does things and everything. But I think from each one of them and each one of the patriarchs, it's kind of, I mean, fantastic to kind of see that God keeps choosing the underdogs. God keeps choosing the younger son. I mean, you have it all the way from the beginning with God choosing Seth Abel instead of Cain, and then he chooses Seth, and then and then Noah, which he chose Noah. I mean Noah, and then from Noah's sons he chooses Shem, and then there's Terah. But like the major patriarchs, you have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then you have Joseph. And with Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, each one of them were the younger sons, and it's just I think there's something definitely there. I don't exactly know really what it is, unless it's just God liking and choosing to use the underdogs constantly. I mean, even in this story that we just read with Joseph's sons, Jacob decides to give the blessing to the majority of the blessing to the younger son, saying that the younger son will be greater than the older. Even that, it's constantly being passed down through Genesis, and I'm kind of intrigued to see how the rest of the Bible goes. But it seems like Genesis basically is more of the forming of God's people and the beginning of God's people, of who Israel is and where it comes from, and showing the promises that God is putting forth for Israel. And just, you can see the groundworks and the game plan being put in place for the rest of the Bible. And you'll see, and even how Andrew even talked about all the children of Jacob and kind of like what happens to them. You can see that all of the things that are being promised are coming true, and how God really is setting the groundworks for the rest of time through all of this. So that would be mine. It's mine. It's all mine.
Nathan?
So my greater meaning of the book of Genesis. Well, my greater meaning is going to be kind of how I first read the book of Genesis when I started reading the Bible. So, and I think that the way I started reading the Bible, I think a majority of people out there actually probably started reading the Bible. So when I got a Bible, you kind of like skim through it, and then you get to a part of it kind of in the middle where you see these red letters, especially if it's a red letter edition, and then you start reading those, and then you come to realize that the red letters where Jesus is the part where Jesus himself is speaking. And you're like, oh, well, why is Jesus in the middle? I mean, I thought Jesus was like the whole point of Christianity. Why isn't he everywhere in the Bible? And so I essentially, when I first started reading the Bible, I read the Gospels first, the first 4 books of the New Testament, because that's where all the Jesus words were, right? And I read that over and over and over again. And then I was like, well, what's in the beginning? And then I flipped to Genesis, and that's how I think most people, when they start reading the Word of God, because if you've never read the Bible, or if you're like just like your average, you're not like a scholar, but you usually pick up the Bible and you try to read the words Jesus spoke because you're a Christian, and then you one day convince yourself, I'm going to read the whole Bible from beginning to end. And then you start to begin the stark difference of Genesis versus the Gospels is there's not a lot of dialogue really in Genesis. I mean, there are moments where some of those figures are talking, but Abraham says like 5 words, like these guys barely talk, Adam barely talks. Noah hardly talks. You know, they don't. They're the lessons you take from them is not by the words they say, but by the actions of their life, of how they live their lives and how they discovered, because they kind of set the template of how to follow God and pursue God and to honor God. And a lot of times those patriarchs would build an altar everywhere they went, especially if something of significance happened. They build an altar at that moment. And then I'd read that, and, you know, honestly, man, I read the book of Genesis when I was younger a bunch of times. I never really got anything from it because I never really looked deep into the stories I'm reading. I mean, I read the creation story. I read about Abraham. I read about, you know, and then I'd leave it up to the sermons I'd hear at church to really explain Genesis to me. But doing this podcast and, you know, over the years, I've kind of started trying to see meanings in what those stories actually were. And I'm just going to focus on one of my favorite aspects of the book of Genesis, of how the patriarchs always built an altar to honor an event, something of, you know, a big event in their lives, an altar to God. And I find that today that's probably lacking a lot in my life, because I've hit a few milestones in my life, and I'm hitting more and more, and we've all have. Do I actually ever take a time, because we celebrate with our family and loved ones, but do I ever build an altar to Christ? Right? Do I make do I stamp a moment in my life with a true thanksgiving to God, to give him the honor and glory first before I congratulate myself for the promotion or anything? And I honestly don't think we do that in our society today. I know I many times forget, like I say, thank you, God, for blessing me, but that's about it. But that's not what those guys did. Those guys like took the time. I mean, some probably took a whole day or so to build an altar, and, you know, it was like really important for them. It was more important than the act of the event that just happened. It was like the altar had to have been built to thank God and to glorify God. And we read the first book of the Bible and we finish the first book of the Bible. We need to start that practice again in our lives. We need to start building altars to the Lord. And what does that even mean today? You have to start dedicating some time to God. You got to stop meditating so much upon your needs and glorifying Christ and trying to work for the kingdom, right? Trying to spread the gospel, trying to be the person that God wants you to be, right? Try to become more Christ-like. Work on your vices to stop doing some of the things that you're doing. And you're not going to be able to do that overnight. It's a process, and it takes time. And honestly, all the patriarchs, it was a process with a lot of them. They weren't greats. They were all really rough people, but they worked on it. They worked on it, and God honored them, and they honored God. It's through our imperfections that we come to realize how perfect Christ is. It's through our imperfections and our inadequacies that we come to realize how much we need the Lord. When things are going great for us, a lot of times we forget to glorify the person that's most important, and that's our Creator and our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So that's my greater meaning for Genesis.
And there you have it.
Wow.
The end of the first major milestone. The first book is completed alongside with Job, which is
Nathan, you kind of like have inspired me to go in my backyard and actually build an altar. Now, the concept of building an altar nowadays, I understand what you were saying, and I agree with it from a spiritual side. But I mean, physically, they built altars to dedicate them to the Lord. So, like, I don't see what's wrong with building an altar for the Lord now and proclaiming it. Not a church. I'm not saying a church. I'm saying an altar, like some type of, I don't know. I mean, you saw it's. I think one of them just put a bunch of stones together and poured oil on it, and then said, "This is the altar."
Was a platform or a place of a sacrifice or a memorial. You would build an altar and you would offer sacrifice on it, whether you'd be pouring out some precious oil, which is very valuable, or sacrificing an animal.
In the show, Little House on the Prairie, the guy. I don't know if any of you have ever watched that show, but I love that show. Now, in one of the episodes, the guy's kid is dying, and he takes his kid out into the wilderness for a while. I mean, like a long time. And in the wilderness, he cuts some wood and builds this beautiful structure and dedicates it to the Lord. It's not a house. It's like a beautiful like structure. And in that episode, an angel comes and basically like kind of like from the Lord and heals the child. So I don't know, even that what you were saying kind of like brought me back to that whole scene, that whole episode, and kind of like I feel inspired. I don't see anything wrong other than looking crazy to all your neighbors. I'm like, what's this witchcraft looking dude doing and building a giant altar and then setting fires and dancing around the fire like David did and having harps and creating. I'm going to take my chickens back there and start sacrificing the blood and giving it to the Lord.
You don't have to do that. I mean, that's what Jesus did.
Yeah, that's
I'm Jesus, saying that
we no longer need to build
I don't
altars.
think that there's anything wrong with it.
Well, the point of an altar, it's useless now that we live under the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. All we need to do is
we are now
submit ourselves
in temples.
Our bodies are now a temple of the Holy Spirit underneath the blood of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. There's no need to build up a physical altar anymore. You can go out there, but it'll do nothing more. If you might as well just get on your knees, ask Jesus to come and enter into your life and then follow him. If you do that, that'll bring you more significant, that'll bring more life-changing power in your life than going out there and putting up a bunch of stones, making a platform, and pouring oil on it and praying over that. But anyway,
so you got to look out for that merch, guys. We got merch coming. It's coming.
I got merch coming.
I'm looking. You do?
Yeah, for me, but I don't know how I'm going to get it to you guys.
Well, there's something called the USPS.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited, man, that we're going to be going into Exodus, and this part of the story is really big. Moses is kind of like a major historical figure on top of being, it's like Abraham level big. So we're super excited. If you like podcasts,
sorry, I wanted to represent,
and you want to support us, please share us with your friends. Like, subscribe, give us that 5-star review. A review means more than you know. Please tune in for the next one. We're just really excited. We're really happy for all the support we've received so far. All you guys out there that's been listening every episode, we appreciate you. And yeah, I'm Andrew. I hope all of you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening or day or morning or whatever. It's evening when we're recording.
I don't know.
We just constantly shut Josh down.
Let's end this.
Yeah, this is a long episode. I'm going to go ahead and
press end so I can see it ending.
Click the ending of the podcast episode, please.